Hi everyone. Let's continue on with our web development here. We've talked about creating headings, paragraphs, lists, and creating links. This video we're going to talk about adding images and doing some very basic styling. Okay. Okay, so we have our page so far, and it's definitely pretty boring. The way that we can add style to our page is through the use of images and different colors, and as we get more complex we can add CSS page layout. So what I want to do is I want to show you how to add some images and what to do with those. If you have your own images that you would like to use, then by all means please do so. If you don't have your own images, then there are many different websites that we can go and actually use some images for free legally, and we'll talk about a couple of those websites to do that with. Okay, so two places that I usually like to get my images from. I do use Google Images a lot, and let me show you how I use Google Images to find some. And what we're going to do is I'm going to take a look at finding some images for my grocery list items or something along those lines. Okay, so I'm going to come up to Google Images and type in bananas. Okay, now you can use an image by going to, let's see, settings. Okay, going to tools, it seems like they change this every time I look at it, and clicking on usage rights. Okay, so right now you're seeing everything, but you want to be able to use some of these images without legally getting in trouble. So there are a couple of different things. So there's labeled for non-commercial reuse. So if you're just doing this for educational purposes and you have no intention on using this image for commercial or for a business where you're going to potentially make some money, then choose labeled for non-commercial reuse. The ones that say labeled for reuse that can be used by anybody. So that's usually the smallest amount of images available. So what I usually choose is labeled for non-commercial reuse because I'm just doing this for educational purposes. And these other ones that say with modification, that means that you need to open it up in a image editor, and you can use their image as long as you recreate it to make it your own. So that might be changing it in some way. So I'm going to select labeled for non-commercial reuse, and then these images will change and update, and hopefully not too much. Okay, so I still have a pretty good selection here of bananas. All right, so I'm gonna click on which one? Sometimes the Wikimedia ones, as I'm hovering over them, they can be a little challenging to use, just because it seems like I've had some problems. Okay, I'm gonna pick this one right here. Now in Google Images, you'll see some information about it. It tells you the size. And there's a couple other ones here if I kind of wanted to get something different. So maybe I'm gonna choose this one. So what I would do is I would right click and I would choose Save Image As, and I'm going to go to my folder in my desktop here, my web dev class, and you want your image to be short. So you don't want like a ridiculously long file name, because that can mess up your web server, can get mad if it's too long. I like to follow the same formats. I like to have all lowercase letters, no spaces in my images. Okay, it's just easier to do it this way. So I'm going to leave it like this. I've corrected it, banana.png. You want your images to kind of describe the image, because it makes a lot more sense when you're actually looking through your files. Banana.png, oh, that's got to be a picture of a banana, right? That would seem logical. If it's, DCM 2729, you don't have any idea what that is. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and save that, and let me also show you this other resource, which is actually where that one ended up coming from, is Pixabay. Now Pixabay is another really awesome image resource that you can use. Let's see, I'm going to do bread, and because I want a picture of bread. These all look delicious, don't they? Let me pick something good up. I'm going to go with this picture here, and I'm going to download it. Oh, they give me options, so here's another great reason. So these dimensions that you're seeing are in pixels, and pixels is the length and the height and width of an image. So something that's 6,000 by 4,000 pixels is going to be gigantic. Most people are using a browser that maybe is this 1920 by 1280. So that's like a full width browser image right there. So I'm going to go a little smaller, but you'll notice here that even the smaller image is 258K, and what you want to do is ideally you'd want to use the smallest file size that you can, because all your images will end up making, if that's one of the most common problems actually, is when people create a website, they use full, quality images and they're shrinking them to a really small size. They're not optimizing their images for file size, and it's taking a long time for people to download these images, and that can force people to another website. So let's just go with the 640 one just because it's much smaller. Okay, so I'm going to download that, and I believe I'm going to have to move it to my desktop folder. So let me go ahead and just move that. Okay, so here it is. It's toast and then all this other stuff. So I'm going to right click and I'm going to rename this to just toast.jpg. And there we go. And you'll see the banana.png. It's a pretty big image at 226K. Alright, so now we've got two images here, and now we can start coding. Alright, so I'm going to go down and I'm going to put these images right here above my grocery list. So right now, all I've been doing so far, there's no sophisticated layout here. This is literally top down. It means whatever I'm typing at the top under the body tag is going to be at the top, and so on. Okay, once you start using CSS, you'll be able to lay things out a little bit better. So I'm going to put these right above my grocery list, so these images should show up underneath my favorite websites and above my grocery list. So the tag to create an image is img. Okay, now an image tag is one of those HTML tags that doesn't require a closing tag, but it does require an attribute. So you always have to have the attribute src, and src stands for source. And so here are the two things. If you are using a file that is locally on your computer that you intend to upload to the internet, you can do it a couple different ways. Right now, since I'm only just experimenting and learning my coding, I'm having all of my files in the same folder. Okay, and that is generally the easiest way to do this. So if you only have a couple files, it doesn't matter that you have your images and your HTML files in the same spot. Once you have a larger website, it's a good idea to have subfolders with your images and a subfolder for your CSS and your JavaScript and things like that. But in this beginning section here, to make it easy on you, I'm just leaving everything in my same folder, and it has to be there, okay? Because when this is the page we're working on, my first page.html, and we're going to pass it the file name of this image. So I'm going to put in the source is banana.jpg. Here is another really common problem that people have working with images. They're not spelling or typing the word correctly. So, oh, see, I accidentally just did that, right? I put JPEG, it should be PNG. So that was actually completely unintentional. Shows you how easily problems can happen. Okay, so I'm going to put image source banana.png, and then I'm going to save this, and I'm going to go back to my page, refresh, and here is my gigantic banana. Okay, all right. We can talk about ways that we can reduce that image size. We can reduce it with CSS, which is a great way to do it. You can also reduce it with a graphics editor. You can resize it in a graphics editor, and go from there. So that's what my banana one looks like. And then I've got that other one, which was toast.jpg. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to go ahead, since I know that's a smaller one, and just put toast.jpg. I'm going to replace my banana with a piece of toast. Save that, refresh, and here's my toast. Okay, I'm going to keep my toast there instead of my banana, and because I like the size, because I chose a good size. Now, another important attribute that you're going to want to use when you use images is hit a space bar, and we're going to use this alt tag. Okay, that's what we alt tag, although it's not really a tag, the alt attribute. Okay, the alt attribute is a very brief description of this image. Okay, so I'm going to just write a little phrase, a piece of toast. Okay, or toast in a toaster oven. Toast. Okay, now the reason we use alt, let me save this, is again when we talk about our there's actually two reasons. One, for people with visual impairments that are using screen readers. That way when they come across an image, they'll be able to tell that it's an image of a toast in a toaster oven. The other thing is, in the event that your image doesn't exist, so let's say my URL was wrong. Let's see what happens here. If the image is not able to load for some reason, it will display that alt text. So that's a really good reason to have that in there in the event that you're serving an image or you're grabbing an image that for some reason isn't displaying. Okay, so I'm going to fix that again and put my toast in there. Okay, so that is how to work with images. Images can be great fun. Don't worry about getting frustrated if your image is not showing up. It's generally because you have the file name wrong, or the file isn't in the right folder, things like that. If you wanted to have that folder, if you wanted to have a new folder in our area here called images, and you wanted that toast to go in there, I'll just throw the banana in there too, because you wanted it to be nice and organized. What you would have to do here to reference this image, it's not too hard. You have to look at where you're at, where your file is. My first page.html. What would the file path be to get to this images folder? So the file path to get to the images folder is images, right? Then you're going to do a slash. Okay, so that brings us here. Then you're going to put the name of the image, toast.jpg. So let's see if I was able to get that correctly. So there we go. I refreshed it and it is still coming up. Okay, I'm going to end this video here, and the next video we'll talk about some basic CSS.